Boy X, page 210. So when we left off, Ash had just remembered that Pierce was experimenting on him, and he is very angry. So 4 hours and 40 minutes until shutdown. Kneeling in the wet dirt, Ash composed himself and looked around the camp. A burning hatred for Pierce reared inside of him like a flaming dragon he had to control. The scientist was not important now. All that mattered was the bag he was carrying. 3 other soldiers, including Hulk, were standing close to the flames, but they weren't watching Ash. They were turning in slow circles with their eyes fixed on the shapes that moved in the canopy. The 4th soldier was missing. "Get up." Kane crouched beside Ash and leaned close. "On your feet." She grabbed the piece of material around his neck and hauled him up. In the trees, one of the monkeys grunted. "What are they doing?" Hulk swept his weapon around in the direction the noise had come from. "You think they're a threat? There must be more than 20 of them up there." "They're just monkeys." But Kane kept one eye on them as she nudged Ash toward the center of the camp. "How did you get out of the biosphere?" Ash kept quiet and tried not to look at Pierce. He continued to cast his eyes about the camp, looking for an escape. His whole body was shaking with fear and frustration. His mind was still swimming with the flood of memories. "And what's this?" When they were close to the fire, Kane took hold of the makeshift spear that was embedded in the dirt and pulled it out with one quick tug. The tip of the spear was still sharp where Ash had whittled it with the knife, except instead of raw wood, the tip was now covered with dirt and traces of white dust. Kane sniffed at it, then touched it and rubbed the dust between her finger and thumb. "How did you make all that smoke?" "It was Thorn. He's out there right now," Ash said, trying to sound as cold and mean as he could. Probably just waiting for the right moment. It was difficult to hide the tremor in his voice. Kane raised her eyebrows and studied him for a moment before smiling. "Clever boy, keeping us on our toes." A light thump came from somewhere by the tree line. "Check it out, Winter," Kane signaled to Hulk. Despite his size, the big man was light on his feet as he ventured closer to the trees. "Can't see anything." Another thump made him snap his head up and look at the waterproof shelter they had improvised. "Maybe something." An orange-green fruit hit the ground beside him, making him step back and scowl at the trees. "The monkeys are throwing fruit. Can you believe that?" Pierce clasped the messenger bag to his chest. "We need to get away from here." "We can handle Thorn," Kane told him. "You almost couldn't handle this child." A flash of anger in Pierce's eyes. "Anyway, we've got more than just Thorn to worry about." He nodded toward the trees. "We need to get away from them." "They're just monkeys." Kane glanced at Pierce. "It's just fruit." "Nothing on this island is just anything," he replied. "Something even I forgot." Another projectile hit the ground, followed by a pat-pat, as 3 more missiles came from the trees in rapid succession. "All right." Kane threw the spear to one side and gripped her carbine with both hands. She examined the shapes lurking in the canopy and addressed the soldiers. "Where's Peterson?" She had to be talking about the orange-haired soldier. He was the only one missing. "Still out there," replied Hulk. "You think Thorn is out there too?" Kane reflected for a moment, still scanning the camp, and Ash saw a shrewd intelligence behind her eyes. "Sounds like they've stopped," she said eventually. "Young, go check on Peterson. Stay sharp. Winter, you watch the perimeter. And you," she looked at Ash, "can tell me where Thorn is hiding." Her eyes searched Ash's face, and he knew she would detect his lies. She would not be as easy to fool, and she was not afraid. When he read her, there was no scent of burned plastic hanging around Kane. Just a powerful smell of oil and what he guessed was gunpowder. Her heart had the strong and slow pulse of an athlete. "We need to go," Pierce said again. "Peterson can catch up." Pierce, on the other hand, stank of burnt plastic, but there was a tang in the air too, like electricity. He wasn't just afraid. The way his voice was heightened and his pulse quickened, Ash knew he was excited. "Forget Thorn. Just bring the boy. That's an order." Cain shifted her eyes and looked at Pierce standing there in his scruffy suit. "What did you mean just now?" she asked, "when you said it worked?" "What?" "You looked at the boy and said it worked." "Did I? What does that matter?" Ash knew why it mattered, though. He had dreamlike half-memories of Pierce injecting him, watching him, testing him. He was the worst kind of monster because he looked like a harmless fool, a wolf in sheep's clothing, who had called Ash useless when the injection showed no sign of working. But now it was working, and that's why it mattered. "We're leaving," Pierce said, coming forward, reaching out to take hold of Ash. "Right now. Bring the boy with us." "Not yet." Cain moved between him and Ash. Pierce stopped and tried to stand even taller. He stared Cain right in the eye. "I think you're forgetting who's in charge here. Who's paying the bills?" "I haven't forgotten, but you don't give the orders anymore. I do. I do not leave my people behind." "You left Thorn. He was your man." Cain's eyes narrowed and she glared at Pierce. Her fingers tightened around her weapon. It was clear they didn't like each other. Maybe Ash could make use of that. So when Cain coughed, just a small, insignificant sound, it gave Ash an idea. "Kronos," he said. "It's not just in Mom's lab. It's all over the biosphere. Starts like the flu, makes you cough. My friend Isabel have it, and now so do you." "Impossible," said Pierce. "We've all been vaccinated against the virus. Anyway, if it escaped the lab and your friend has it, then why don't—" He glanced up at the monkeys, and a vague smile passed across his lips as if he had just stumbled upon a secret. "You've got it," Ash said to Cain. "All of you. Pierce probably injected you with Kronos instead of the cure. It would be a good way to get off this island. Inside you. We'd be dead before we got to San Jose," Cain said. "No, we don't have it. The real question is, why don't you have it? You're telling the truth about your friend. I can see it in your eyes. But why aren't you sick?" She turned to Pierce. "And why do you look so smug about it?" She raised her weapon at Pierce, and the other soldiers followed suit. "Something's going on here," she said, "and I want to know what it is. Are you and Thorn trying to pull some kind of trick?" Pierce backed away, lifting his hands, shaking head. "There's no trick. Really, this is just getting out of hand." "Thorn was with you." Cain looked down the sights at Pierce. "You insisted on bringing him along. How did he get out of the biosphere? That place was supposed to be locked down. Did you have some kind of plan to take us out? Pick us off in the jungle and save yourself some money?" "Of course not. We're in the jungle by accident. We're supposed to be in the bloody helicopter, miles away from here by—" "Then tell me what's going on." Cain's voice was cold and unyielding. "Why isn't the boy sick? Where is Thorn?" Winter, cut his throat." Hulk drew a large black-bladed knife and approached Pierce with purpose. "No, wait!" Pierce put his hands in front of him, palms out. "I really don't know where Thorn is. Really. And the boy?" He looked to the trees. "It's because of them. The monkeys. It's the same reason they don't have it." Cain signaled one-handed to Winter, and the huge man stopped in his tracks. He remained poised to act as soon as Cain gave the order. "Please." Pierce took a deep breath, his attention jumping from Winter to the knife in his hand. I hardly know Thorn any better than you do. He's the broker's man." "What?" Cain couldn't hide her surprise. "And that boy," he pointed at Ash, "is more valuable than any virus. I thought it didn't work. I thought it was all wasted, but here he is. Can't you tell he's different?" All right, I'm going to stop there, and we'll pick up the chapter again in a minute.